John Blank is a former foreign policy advisor to President Joe Biden who advised Biden for 9 years on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He's joining us live from Washington, D.C. Mr. Blank, welcome to WION World is One. Trump and his team have welcomed this partial victory that came from a divided SCOTUS. Biden's team, on the other hand, has denounced the ruling. Some say that this verdict has created more chaos in Trump's prosecution process. What say you? Help us understand what this means going forward.
Well, thank you for having me. The real bottom line here is that the Supreme Court majority, 6-3, 6 of them appointed by Republican presidents, 3 by Democratic presidents, the Republican majority explicitly rigged this case in favor of Donald Trump. We know this because they did not actually rule on the substance. They just kicked it back to the lower court, which they could have done in December when the prosecutors asked them to have a ruling on exactly this. There is no credible case that the actions for which Trump is on trial were official actions. It is not part of a president's job to rig an election in his favor. So there just is not a good faith argument here. They're merely kicking this until after the 2024 election so that if Trump wins, he can simply dismiss it.
Mr. Blank, the district court can still determine whether other actions he took around the January 6th insurrection will be unofficial acts and therefore eligible for prosecution. How can America move forward from this even beyond the elections?
That's a great question because our Supreme Court is fundamentally sacrificing its credibility and its legitimacy. It would be, in my view, almost impossible for this Supreme Court to regain the trust of the American people, which means there will have to be, at some point in the future, some real reform of the Supreme Court. What can we do in the meantime? Well, I think that unless the American people vote to prevent Donald Trump from coming back into office, our democracy is in very serious peril. The Supreme Court has shown that it will not be the bolster holding up democracy. So it's up to the American people.
Mr. Blank, finally, very quickly, you did mention reforms to the Supreme Court of America. What kind of reforms are you talking about? Very quickly.
We need to expand the court so that these locked-in 6 majority do not have the power to block everything else. And we really need some term limits and we need some ethics rules. The corruption on the Supreme Court has never been seen at this level in all of American history.
All right, I've been talking to Mr. John Blank. He's a former foreign policy advisor to President Joe Biden. He is live in Washington, D.C. Mr. Blank, thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.